Hello, today we're going to talk about the full moon, which is going to occur in Taurus on the 5th of November. So it's very soon because today is the 3rd of November. I'm pretty late this time around because I've been very busy otherwise doing all sorts of things lately. So please forgive me, and I hope that you enjoy this reading that I'm going to do for you of the chart of this full moon. Let's begin. Here is the chart. You see the moon is in Taurus here at 13 degrees and 22 minutes, 23 minutes in Taurus, and of course the sun is right across at 13 degrees and 23 minutes in Scorpio. That's how it is. That's the full moon. Now, the sun is in great relationship with the north lunar node. And because the sun is in Scorpio, the moon is in Taurus, there is something about getting halfway toward a goal that you may want to reach. And that goal may be represented by the North Lunar Node, which actually represents that toward which we should be tending to go. And naturally, because there is that nice link here, which we call a trine, between the Sun and the North Lunar Node, there is a sextile, which is half a trine, with the moon. So this is quite a positive configuration that announces an accrued potential to achieve something quite interesting and positive. Perhaps between that full moon and the new moon, which will occur about 2 weeks later. So the sun is also in harmony, there is a sextile here, with a south lunar node, while the moon is in trine, which is a double the sextile, with the south lunar node. And the south lunar node represents that from which we should, try and detach ourselves. So what is it that you need to sort of let go and forget about in order to make your existential vehicle, which is your life, lighter? And if it is lighter, you will probably consume less energy to reach your destination, your goal, whatever that is. So it's a pretty interesting configuration, actually. Very promising. But of course you have to use this energy wisely in order to obtain what you want to obtain. And before maybe you obtain that, you will go through some steps that are necessary for you to understand many things and to progress along the line. You see, the next transit of the moon is when it reaches Uranus. And before it does that, it's going to create an opposition with the black moon, which is here at 24 degrees in Scorpio. Let's have a look at the next chart. So that's the chart of November 6th, and of course it has to do with Uranus, of which I've just spoken. Now, here is Uranus. It's at 0 degree and 0 degree in Gemini. So it is really preparing itself to retrograde into Taurus, where it will actually be until the 25th of April, 2026. So the transit of Uranus in Taurus, retrograde, and then in direct motion again, indicates that we may have to sort of reflect on the past, which is not a far distant It has something to do with the change that we need in our life and that we are perhaps preparing. So to prepare the change, to make sure that the turn that your life is going to take is the best, you need to reflect on many things that pertain to what happened before that notion of change came into play in your chart, in your life. There is a very nice configuration here with Pluto, of which I will talk again and again because it's going to remain quite active for many years, actually. So this is, well, most probably indicating an accrued potential to change and regenerate, or to regenerate through a change, or maybe the change is going to allow us to regenerate somehow in some area of our life, maybe physiologically as well, health-wise, or in any other area, important area, of course, of your life. So when the moon reaches Uranus, maybe you will be in a position to make a decision. Of course, as you can see, the black moon is here, Mars is here, Mercury is here, and that forms oppositions. Actually, at 4 p.m. On the November 6th, the moon is going to reach Uranus. And it will create thereafter, for a number of hours, and perhaps up to 12 hours before, after that, it's going to create an opposition with Mars. So it's going to trigger the energy of Mars and then the energy of Mercury. Now, triggering the energy of Mars first may prove to be quite sensitive, because Mars represents action and Mercury represents reflection, So normally we should think before we act. But in this case, because Mars is going to be triggered before Mercury, it seems that we could have a tendency to act before we think. And that could be, of course, a mistake. It's something that you need to take into consideration, and especially on that day and around that time, but later on, even until November 7th, because 4 p.m. is 8 hours before midnight, and therefore before November 7th. And obviously Mercury is going to be triggered around the morning in November 7th. So what you're going to decide and how you're going to react later on the 6th of November in the evening or late afternoon, or maybe earlier than that if you live far from the Greenwich or universal timeline, then you need to really make sure and be very careful of what you do, because then some hours later you may have to think about the consequences, and it could be too late, to go back to what it was before and avoid that decision or that reaction that may be a source or become a source of problems. It's not impossible, but Mars is in harmony with Pluto, just like in harmony with Uranus as well. Pluto is in harmony with Uranus and the moon on that day and time, so that may help you avoid the worst, but still be careful. Then the next transit occurs, and that's just what I was saying before, that's when the moon reaches Mercury and Mars, but actually it's first Mars and then Mercury, as I just said earlier on. And Mercury will be reached at 1:20 a.m. universal time. So take that into consideration and make sure that you don't react too fast, too harshly as well. Lack of patience is represented by this configuration between Mercury and Mars. So take it easy. Try to take it easy on that day and the day before, as I've just explained. Then, November 8th, Vesta. Vesta is going to be triggered by the energy of the moon, which will create an opposition with this asteroid representing balance, harmony, and well-being. Well-being is probably, more or less guaranteed thanks to Chiron, because Chiron is in harmony with Vesta. And so Chiron represents the inner doctor, so when you have to deal with something, the inner doctor, which is your own self, is able to find the right treatment or the right answer to deal with the situation and restore perhaps harmony in your life, because Vesta is in discordance with Saturn and Neptune. So that means that perhaps what you believe in is not a reflection of reality, and it may be something that you discover on that day, November 8, in the morning, 8:20, that is universal time, of course. So once again, you need to make sure that you are in presence of objective notions instead of beliefs. Then on November 9, the moon trines the sun. Now that's a pretty good configuration, which is occurring every month, twice actually. But it helps. In this case, because Jupiter is not very far from the moon, as you can see, Jupiter is here, there is, of course, a kind of harmony involving the sun and the moon, but also involving Jupiter and the sun, involving the black moon, the mean one, and the true one. You see there, on either side of the sun. Now, they both represent something that is not clear. So it may trigger an interest in getting involved in some sort of investigation to understand, to shed light on what is not really clear in your life, or in someone else's life for that matter. And the moon creating such nice, beautiful aspects here. We have a number of trines involving Saturn, involving Neptune, involving the North Lunar Node, involving the South one as well. We could have here what we call a kite as well. So it could be a very interesting moment, and that's November 9 at about 20:20 in the evening, so that's 8:20 p.m. And that will probably help us make things better, probably around the early morning of the 10th, when the moon reaches Jupiter, which is of course going to happen just after. So Jupiter, then Pluto. And that's what I want to show you now. See, Jupiter is reached by the transit of the moon, and there is that trine with the sun, there is a trine with the black moon, there is a trine as well with Saturn, and another one with Neptune, and the moon is about to trigger the energy of Pluto, which will occur a few hours later. And so you have to take that into consideration, because Pluto represents regeneration, as you know, and Jupiter represents expansion, evolution. That could be a moment to choose to try your luck in some way or other. There is most probably an opportunity that may come forward, and you will have to make sure that you take advantage of it. Because if you do, when the moon reaches the sun, the black moon, later on, it will most probably become the source of luck that may also be a source of great satisfaction. So don't neglect this moment and day, November 10, around 9 in the morning, and that is, of course, once again, universal time. Because after that, the moon is going to create an opposition, as you can see, with Pluto, and that will be on the same day, November 10, at 8 p.m. That is, of course, once again, universal time. So we have a square with Venus and the black moon. So there may be something about the manner in which you deal with your love life, for example. or with the person you love, there is a need to regenerate the relationship or to regenerate the manner in which you deal with that feeling that you may have, feeling of love, because that will most probably help you shed light and unveil something that is unclear, maybe within yourself or the other person concerned. So on that day and time, in the evening or the afternoon, depending on where you are on the planet, of course, you will have the opportunity to question a relationship, a feeling, or a creation that you may have made, because Venus also represents creativity. That is especially true if you're an artist, of course. But we all are in some way. November 12, the last quarter, that's when the moon and the sun form a square. You see, that is this 90-degree angle. That's going to happen on November 12 at 6 in the morning. So for some of you, it will still be November 11, just before midnight somehow. So in any case, that creates a distortion of our physical energy, and that will have most probably some repercussions on our health and on our well-being, on our ability to deal with that famous dark zone that I've spoken about before, and that is the mean black moon that's here. So the sun is likely to reach the black moon and to have a strong influence when it does actually shed that light. So there's something to discover, maybe on November 12, around 6 a.m. Universal Time. You will get a hint of what it is, but it may be destabilizing. Thank God, Chiron is in harmony with the moon. So once again, the inner doctor should be able to find the solution or the right treatment to something that may be a little disturbing. But, don't worry too much. It's a configuration that is not going to last for very long at all. Then, what happens? It's November 14. The lunar nodes are going to be triggered, then Saturn, then Neptune. So let's have a look at that. First of all, the moon is here and it reaches the south lunar node. And that will be on November 14 at 4 a.m. Universal Time. And naturally it triggers the north lunar node, but it also triggers the south one. And then we could find ourselves in a dilemma. What to leave behind to make sure that we reach a goal. Is it worthwhile to leave what we have to leave behind to reach the not perhaps 100% guaranteed goal? So that will be something that you'll have to decide for yourself, of course. But both are in harmony with Venus and the black moon, the true black moon. And that can indicate a potential, thanks to what you're going to find within yourself. It could be a very strong feeling, it could be an inspiration, it could be creativity, it could be artistic, it could be sentimental as well. And if that's the case, then you can deal with what you need to leave behind in order to reach that goal that you may have set for yourself. Because then after that, on November 17, Chiron and Jupiter are going to be triggered by the transit of the moon. But I must also say that before that, when the moon was in opposition to the north lunar node, later on that day, it will have reached Saturn and Neptune. So it will reach the inspiration, the intuition, your dream perhaps, which is also represented by Neptune, and a reality, represented by Saturn. And because Saturn and Neptune are in harmony with the Sun, with the black moon and with Jupiter, here, in my opinion, is a kind of guarantee that the result that you will achieve may be quite satisfying, very much so. But after that, of course, the moon on the 17th of November at 9 in the morning universal time creates an opposition with Chiron and a square with Jupiter. So it triggers the energy of Chiron, which represents health as such, or in some area of your life, and the square with Jupiter, which tends to create an exaggeration. So you may feel uncomfortable, unwell, but you may have a tendency to exaggerate what it comes from, what that feeling of not being well comes from, where it comes from, and what is the origin of that actual feeling. Is it emotional or is it rational? It is something that you need to assess for yourself on that 17th of November around 9 a.m. Universal time, because it will help you deal with the situation instead of exaggerating and making things much bigger than what they are, much more important than what they may be. You will have the ability to call on this inner doctor so that you find the right treatment to make sure that Jupiter does not enhance in an exaggerating type of manner the feeling of being unwell that this configuration can represent. But then again, don't neglect any symptom that may appear, because that could be, of course, physiologically, health-wise, but it could be health in any area of your life, as I said earlier on. That will depend on your chart and so on. And as usual, if you need more information about this to be able to control it better, this configuration is quite strong, then don't hesitate to visit our website and you'll find information to order a reading of some sort. Jupiter is in harmony with the Sun, with the black moon, with Saturn and with Neptune. So this is quite comforting in the sense that it is a protection. And that protection will protect you, me, and anyone else, but differently according to anyone's chart, of course, and life, naturally. Then what's going to happen? Let's have a look. November 19, it's Venus. So Venus is here at 15 degrees, and the moon reaches 15 degrees, so it triggers the energy of Venus. Venus is in harmony with both lunar nodes, the north one and the south one. That's all there is. That's all. And that's a pretty promising type of configuration, because it shows through the south lunar node that you will know what you leave behind, you know, what you perhaps abandon. It may be a certain way of dealing with Venus in your life, whatever it represents. It's love, of course, it is the goddess of love. It represents inspiration, creativity especially, and your feelings of love for someone. And the trine with the north lunar node will most probably guarantee some success. So it could be also a moment when luck strikes, but it's 5 a.m. on the 19th of November, and that is, of course, universal time. So work out what time it will be. It could be still the 18th of November, late in the evening for certain people who live far west of the universal timeline. So you need to work it out, because that could be a moment to choose to decide on something or to try your luck, simply. And then after going over both black moons, the moon is eventually going to reach the Sun. Aligning with the Sun, it creates what we call, and you know it, the new moon. And that new moon is going to be conjunct Mercury. This is a very strong configuration here, trine Saturn and Neptune, trine Jupiter. Thank you very much. That's very strong, very positive. And of course, there is also an opposition with Uranus, which will be in Taurus, retrograde. So I'll talk about that chart in another video that I'll post online on this channel. Now, it will be on the 20th of November at 6:48 a.m. Universal Time when the moon reaches the position of the sun. Thank you very much for watching this video. If you're interested in learning astrology, we have a course that is designed for anyone desiring to learn seriously astrology, and also my books if you want to, read and discover another manner of dealing with this art. My books are online and for sale on Amazon. And consultations, if you need someone to help you dealing with any aspect of your life, don't hesitate to visit our website and you'll find information to order a reading of your choice. So thank you very much. See you later. Bye for now. Take care.